You have 3 seconds to convince someone to follow you on Instagram, and it's not just your content that makes them decide to click. Your bio is not only your first impression for new viewers, but it also helps with how easily people can find your account on Instagram. So today, I'm going to share the 6 sections of your profile that you need to update if you want to grow. First, let's start with your username, aka your Instagram handle. Your username is what shows up after the @ symbol. It's completely unique to you, but contrary to popular belief, there should be some level of strategy that goes into picking your username. My rule of thumb is to keep it simple, memorable, and easy to spell. Think about it. If someone hears your name on a podcast, or maybe they have a friend that recommends that they follow you, they should be able to easily pick up their phone, search for your name, and find you. For anyone who's building a personal brand, I usually suggest just using your name as your Instagram handle, but you can also choose to add a relevant keyword to the end of your handle. So for example, in my case, because I post about social media, my handle is Sarah Gav Social. But if I was a photographer, maybe it would be Photos by Sarah. Or if I was a travel creator, Travel with Sarah, or something like that. By adding a little keyword into your username, it helps people to understand what you post about. And it can also help you in Instagram search results as well. But pro tip, keep your username consistent across all social media platforms. This way, it makes it so much easier for people to actually find you. All right, next up is your profile photo, which is way more important than I think a lot of people realize it is. Your photo is one of the very first things that people see when they click on your profile, when you appear in a comment section somewhere, when they DM you. So the goal here is to make your profile photo memorable and recognizable, even when they're seeing it in a teeny tiny comment section. If you're building a personal brand, I highly suggest using a close-up photo of your face. If you're too far away, it can feel a little bit difficult to actually connect with you. And I love when creators add a little pop of color behind their face. I feel like it makes you stand out more and just makes your profile photo a lot more recognizable. Now, if you're a business, you can definitely use your logo as your profile image if that makes more sense for you. But just keep in mind that any text on your logo will appear very tiny on mobile, on Instagram. So I'd make sure that you're using a very simplified version of your logo, something that's big and bold and easy to see. Similar to what I said about your username, I would highly suggest keeping your profile photo consistent across platforms. This way, if people see you on TikTok or YouTube, it's really easy to recognize your face. And one last tip for you, pick a photo and stick to it. I know it can be really hard to be indecisive about the picture that you choose, but just pick one picture, stick with it. If you consistently switch it up every week, every day, it just gets really confusing for your audience. All right, now let's talk about your name line on Instagram. This is the bold text that appears underneath your Instagram username. And this is one of the most overlooked spots when it comes to growth. Here's the thing. Think of Instagram search kind of like how you would use Google. You log into the Instagram app, you go to the search bar, and you search up a certain term that corresponds to the type of content that you want to see. For example, somebody who's getting married might type in New York City wedding photographer, and Instagram looks to your name line in order to recommend your account to that person. Your name line is fully searchable. So if you're just using this line to write your name, you're kind of wasting that space. Let me grab my phone and actually show you an example of this. If I go ahead and search up vegan recipes, you can see that these accounts pop up because of the fact that they have vegan recipes written in their name line. If Nisha only had her name on this line and not vegan recipes, I may have never found her account. And this is exactly why adding keywords is so important. The key here is to make sure that you're using words that people are actually searching for. So vague terms like business unicorn or branding wizard, they're actually going to end up doing you more harm than good. I know those terms are kind of fun and they show your personality, but it doesn't help when it comes to SEO. So I would get really specific and really clear with what you do, especially in your name line. So think about your niche and what you post about. Then think to yourself, what would a stranger be typing in order to find someone like me? So maybe you're a New York City wedding photographer or a vegan recipe creator. Whatever it is you do, write that term in your name line. Remember that you only have 64 characters here, so I would write your name and then write the most important keywords immediately after it. And also keep in mind that you can only change your name on Instagram twice in a 14-day period. Make sure that you're super confident with your name before you actually hit publish. I know this can be a little bit of a difficult subject, so if you're struggling with what to actually write in this name line, comment your niche and a little bit about what you post down below, and I'll do my best to answer some of the comments with some suggestions for what I would add if I was in your niche. I like to think of your Instagram bio kind of like the sign that's outside of your store. So imagine someone's walking down the street and they look up and the very first thing that they see is your sign. And that is what helps them determine whether they're gonna actually walk through the door. Same thing with your Instagram profile. Someone stumbles across your account, they read your bio, and that's what makes them decide whether they're actually gonna hit follow. You have 150 characters to tell a complete stranger who you are, what you do, and why they should stick around. And I don't know about you, but I am very, very selective with who I follow these days, probably because I just follow too many people. So I would really suggest getting very strategic with what you actually write in your bio. Now, what a lot of creators get wrong is that they write their entire bio about themselves instead of for their audience. I hate to break it to you, but no one's following you just because you're a Gemini, you love oat milk lattes, and you're manifesting good vibes. They follow you because they believe that your content is going to give them some level of value, whether it's education, entertainment, inspiration, transformation, whatever it is. So within your Instagram bio, I suggest adding who you help, how you help them, and the result that they're going to see. A lot of creators will use the formula, I help blank do blank so they can blank. So an example of this is I help college students manage their money so they can graduate debt-free. But of course, you can adjust the wording to make it actually feel like you. So a couple of examples that I like are helping busy moms meal prep in less than 20 minutes a day, sharing budget-friendly outfits for plus-size women, teaching beginner photographers how to shoot and edit like a pro. You see how these statements aren't just about me. It actually explains to the viewer who your posts are for and what you help them with. They directly tell a stranger, if you follow me, this is exactly what you're gonna get. Now, when it comes to the middle section of your bio, there's tons of opportunity here. Some creators like to add some credibility here to help build that trust faster. So maybe it looks like featured in Forbes, or 10 plus years of experience, or even 500K on TikTok. But if that's not really your vibe, you can also use this section to show a little bit more about your personality. But in my opinion, it still needs to be somewhat valuable to your brand and not just completely random. So for example, writing something like, your internet big sis is really fun for someone who's posting life advice or story times. This middle section is really just all about trust and all about connection. So whether you're going with some credibility or you're going with something a little more fun, definitely just focus on how you can further connect with the person who's watching. Now, this last part is optional, but it's really, really powerful if you're building a business as a creator, which we always suggest, and that is to add a call to action in your bio. So for example, if you have a freebie, at the very end of your bio, you can add something that says, grab my free 5-day challenge. And then you probably want to add a little down arrow to tell people that it's in your link. Another great CTA is to encourage people to DM you a specific word. So for example, Tina Lee asks her audience to DM her the word magic in order to learn more about her course. You can see that as soon as I send her that word, I automatically get a reply from her that has the link to the course. She set up this automation in Manychat and it's super easy to do. So if you want to learn how to do it for yourself, I'll put a tutorial in the description below. Now, before we move on to the next section, let me just rapid fire a couple of bio tips that I highly suggest that you follow. I would add line breaks into your bio rather than just writing everything in one large paragraph, because that can get really, really hard to read. So I usually suggest breaking it up by line. I personally like to add little emojis to make it more fun, but whatever makes sense for you. I would also definitely avoid those like fancy fonts that you get from third-party apps. They might look kind of cool, but sometimes they're hard to read. And also it's been said that it can make it harder for Instagram to actually detect what the words are, which can end up doing more harm than good when it comes to the search results. Make sure that you remove any fluff from your bio, especially because you only have 150 characters. So things like motivational quotes, extra facts about yourself, like I'm an Aquarius who loves iced coffee. It ends up just taking up space that you can use for something a little bit more valuable. I personally love adding my location into my bio, even though I'm not like a local creator, I guess you could say, but just having my location there has helped me get local clients, helped me get local brand deals, and I've even gotten invited to local events just from writing my location. And speaking of brand deals, if brand deals is your main goal as a creator, I would suggest writing your email in your bio. You might not know this, but the contact buttons that you see on your mobile phone, like the one that says email, you can't actually see that on desktop. So by writing your email in your bio, it makes it so much easier for influencer managers to actually contact you. In my opinion, your story highlights aren't that important these days, but they definitely are worth updating if you haven't thought about them in a while. And I'm calling myself out there because I always forget about these. Your highlights live right under your bio, and the problem is that a lot of creators treat these kind of like a personal scrapbook rather than a tool that can actually help somebody who comes to your profile for the first time. I like to kind of think of my highlights as a curated playlist where someone can click it and get the exact information that they're looking for. So some highlights that I love are an About Me highlight, where you just share a little bit about yourself, an overview of your products or your services, a collection of your best tips or tutorials, some testimonials from past customers or clients. If you have any freebies, this is a great spot to add that as well. If you're an affiliate creator, maybe you have a collection of affiliate links that you love. Or maybe the scrapbook style does work for you if you're a lifestyle creator and a lot of people always ask about your wedding. There's really no one size fits all when it comes to your highlights, but I would probably look at them more as a valuable tool for your audience versus just something that's for yourself. Next, you need to actually curate the stories that are inside the highlights. So for example, if I click on your highlight and the very first story is from 2018, you lost me. Ideally, that first story is something that's super relevant to the person who's clicking on the highlight and it's not super old. And also, you want to get super intentional with the actual covers that are on your highlights as well as the titles. Your covers should be clean and branded and look nice on your profile. So I suggest like a consistent color or some sort of style that's consistent amongst all of the highlights. And if you add any text onto the actual image, I suggest not making it too small because those little bubbles are so tiny, and if the text is really small, nobody's gonna be able to read it. And then for the actual titles of each highlight, name them something that makes it really, really clear what it actually is. You have such limited space for these little titles, so make it count. You probably can only fit like 1, maybe 2 words. So make it super clear so that people want to actually click it. Now, let's talk about the very first posts that people see when they land on your profile, and those are your pinned posts. You can pin up to 3 posts to the very top of your profile, but there are actually 2 different spots where you can pin posts, your main grid and your Reels tab, and both of these spots are important in completely different ways. When someone searches for your profile in the Instagram search bar or taps on your profile from within a comment section or something like that, they're immediately brought to your main grid. So these are the first 3 posts that they're gonna see. But if someone finds one of your Reels in the Reels Explore feed and clicks on your profile from there, Instagram actually brings them to your Reels tab first. And so in that case, the first 3 posts that they're gonna see are in your Reels tab. So pinning 3 posts in each of these spots are very important. And yes, you can pin 3 different posts for both spots if that makes sense for you. Now, the mistake that a lot of creators make is that they pin posts just because they went super viral. And don't get me wrong, if that viral post actually represents the type of content that you normally post and it's perfect for your goals, super aligned, pin it. That's totally fine. But if it's like a one-off post that went viral out of nowhere and doesn't really make sense compared to the rest of your content, please do not just pin it because it got a million views. The biggest thing is that you have to look at your pinned posts super strategically. I love this example from Brock Johnson. You can see that he has a Start Here post where he explains a little bit about himself. He has a post that directly talks about his course, and he also has a third post that answers a common problem that his audience has with a freebie. So each of these posts has a very clear goal. The first one is to tell you about him and to gain trust. The second one is to sell spots in his course. And the third one is to promote a freebie to grow his email list. Beyond the actual content within your pinned posts, You also want to make sure that the thumbnails are clean and on brand. I love these thumbnails from Monty Lands. They're super eye-catching and just look really good on his page. But even if you don't want to use a graphic, I would suggest adding some sort of text onto your pinned posts because people are more likely to click if they know what they're clicking on. Remember that these are going to live on the top of your feed. So you want to make sure that they look good, and you also want to make sure that they're up to date. There's really nothing worse than seeing an About Me post that's from 2023. Like, we got to update that. So now that you've upgraded your Instagram profile, how do you actually know whether it's working or not? Well, as always, I would suggest looking at your Instagram insights. You just click on your professional dashboard and you can see everything right there. First, I suggest looking at your profile views versus new followers. So I can see here that I have 11,744 profile visits in the last 30 days. Then go back and look at where it says new followers. In the last 30 days, I gained 346 new followers. So if around 11,000 people actually viewed my profile, but only 346 followed, that's around like 3% of people who followed me after seeing my profile. Now you have to keep in mind that some people who view your profile probably already follow you. So it's not a perfect system, but this low percentage might indicate to me that it's time to tweak some things in my bio or maybe update my pinned posts or something like that. You should also be looking at the other metrics that matter to you and to your goals. So for example, if you put a CTA at the very end of your bio that says to click the link below to join my course, you should be tracking the amount of link clicks that you actually get from your link in bio. And if this number is a little bit lower than you'd like it to be, especially when compared to your profile views, then I would probably suggest tweaking something about your CTA. So maybe you switch up the wording, or maybe you try something completely different, like using Manychat to have people DM you a certain word rather than clicking on the link. And if you want an even more clear way to see what people think about your Instagram bio, I would suggest just asking someone. I know it sounds kind of silly, but like literally hand your phone to someone who doesn't follow you, have them scan your profile for like a couple of seconds, and then ask, so what do you think it is that I do? And if they can't clearly explain what you post about, probably time to get a little more specific. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. I want you to remember though that your bio is not permanent. You can go back and you can readjust as needed, especially as you evolve as a creator. And I want to know, after finishing this video, what's the first thing that you're going to change about your Instagram profile? Let me know in the comments. If you found this helpful, please make sure to subscribe for more weekly videos just like this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!